Hi guys, my name is Karthik and I am from exerautomation.com and welcome to an all new series from Exer Automation on deploying microservices with Docker. In this series, we'll be talking about how we can deploy various different applications like a Node.js application or ASP.NET Core application using Docker and running them as a container. And this helps you understand how we can run variety of application like microservices in the Docker environment. And in this video, we'll be talking about how we can deploy and run a microservices using the Docker run command. So this is a most simplest approach to understand how an application can be deployed and run using a Docker run command. But in our upcoming videos, we'll understand how we can do a lot of different cool things with Docker to deploy our application within the Docker container. So before this Docker advanced series, there are some of the series that you need to probably go through, or if you already know about those Docker basics, then you can completely skip that. But if you are kind of new to the Docker itself, then probably you need to go through the understanding the ABC of Docker or understanding the Docker for Windows. And if you don't want to really go through all these 18 plus videos or 20 plus videos that we have on those series, probably you can just watch at least these two videos, like part 1 and part 2 of EA weekend video series, which will give you a more idea of how to work with Docker and the basics of Docker and Docker commands and stuff. So we're not going to talk about some of the basics of what is Docker ps-a or Docker images or how to stop the Docker container and what is containers and stuff. Those things are not scope of this particular series. This is going to be a more advanced series. So in this series, we are going to be talking about how we can deploy a microservice based application with Docker in our Docker containers. It can be a Node.js application or it can be a Microsoft.NET based application. And mostly we are going to be covering the Microsoft.NET Core 6 API based application, because if you have seen my other video series, which I'm doing parallelly, I'm developing a ASP.NET Core 6.0 preview application, which is the minimal API feature, which is yet to release to the market. That's something which I'm developing as a part of a new series in our Exer Automation YouTube channel. And that's exactly the same application we'll be using over here in the Docker video series to deploy the application as a microservice within a Docker container. So we are going to learn something like how we can run this ASP.NET Core 6.0 API application within a Docker container using Docker run command or Dockerfile with MultiStage builds, and how we can do the whole thing like connecting databases and using environment variables and stuff using Docker compose file. So those are the things that we'll be talking about in this particular series. So this series is going to be a bit more advanced, and this is exactly what is going to be used in most of the organizations while you work day in, day out. So the application, as I told you, we are going to be using one of the application that we are currently developing within another video series using ASP.NET Core 6.0. That's exactly what is going to be this code, as you can see over the link here. Well, as I said, in this video, we'll be talking about the Docker run command. And this command is the easiest way to run an application within a container without doing a lot of hard effort like creating a Docker file or a compose file to run, because we are going to be seeing how, in a nutshell, the Docker actually deploys an application, or you can deploy an application within a container, and how you can run that. So this command is going to be very, very simple to understand, at least to see how things are working together while using the Docker containers and Docker compose and stuff, which is going to be happening later. But this command is going to give you a high level idea of it. And this command is also helpful to run an application even if your machine has no SDK which is required for you to run the particular application, because you're going to be using the direct image of that particular application's required SDK, and that's the power of this Docker run itself. So the command is going to look a bit something like this. As you can see, it has a Docker run -t it-p 8080:5000, which is the port number and the volume and stuff. This is something I have already discussed in my basic series, but we are going to use exactly the same command over here. We have not discussed a lot about this Docker run command like in high level detail with a real-time application, but we did cover those things in a basic video series. So in order to dissect this particular command, you can see this command is split into sections like Docker run -it and -p, which is the port number 8080:5000, and then there is a -v of the pwd or the current working directory, and then :/app, which is nothing but the directory where you're going to map with a container, and then -w is for the working directory, and then the image itself that you're going to be running this particular container. So this is what is going to be the Docker run command, and you can see this is the high level explanation of how it looks like. So as I told you, for Docker run, the run command actually tells you to run the image as a container. The image is nothing but the mcr.microsoft.com/.NET/SDK:6. That's the image that we will be running as a container within the Docker. Well, the image as a container I'm telling over here is nothing but you have an image which is nothing but the mcr.microsoft.com/.NET/SDK, which is the image. You're going to run that particular image as an executable, basically, like example I'm saying. If you're going to run that, you need to run that as a container in the Docker world. That's what is this run command basically telling you. But this -it is basically nothing but an interactive mode, small abbreviation of that. And then -p tells you to expose the port of the host : container. And then you have the volume mapping over here, which is nothing but the pwd, which is for the current working directory. And then there is a /app, which is for the container. And then the -w is going to be the working directory where you're going to be launching that particular application while you run that in a container way. So I will show you all these commands in a quick introduction in this particular video, and we'll see how we can actually make use of it. So let's quickly see everything in action and understand how things work. So for that, I'm going to flip to my Microsoft terminal right now. All right, so this is my Microsoft Windows terminal, and as you can see over here, I don't really have any images available within my Docker. And if I do docker ps-a, you will see there is no running container because there is no image. Obviously, there is not going to be any container running, which is all cool. And now, as I told you, we are going to be making use of one of the applications that we already developed within our Exit Automation YouTube series. So if we just go over here and if you just type Exit Automation or GitHub/execute automation, and if you go to the repositories, you will see there is something called as ASP.NET Core Minimal API. And this is one of the repo which tells you how to build a microservice based application using .NET Core 6.0 Minimal API, which is still in preview state. And we are developing that as a part of the series in our YouTube. So if you really wanted to check out how to build a microservice based application using ASP.NET Core, go ahead and watch there. All right, so I'm going to copy this particular code, and then I'm going to clone this code basically. And then if we go to this minimal, this one, and if I just do Visual Studio Code open here, as I thrust this author, and you can see that this project comes in. I'm not really going to be modifying the code or something like that. I'm just going to use the exact same code that is available on the GitHub repo. And you can see that the code is going to come up with all the different details required for the application to run. And you can see that the current target framework of this application, we are using the .NET 6.0 over here, which is nothing but the latest and the greatest version of .NET. And if you see within my computer, if you just type .NET --version, I have the .NET 6.0 preview version installed within my machine. But not everybody on the planet is going to have the latest version of the .NET. Or even if you're going to run this code, let's say in your Mac operating system or Linux operating system, you might not be necessarily installing the .NET if you don't really develop that particular application. But if you wanted to run the .NET based application which requires an SDK for you to be installed in your machine, then probably you need to have that particular SDK. If not, the application is not going to run. So if you just see here, if I just do this .NET run, if I do this, oops, sorry about that. I think I need to go to this minimal demo and .NET run. You will see it is currently building the application for us. And you can see that there is a folder came in like bin. And it has launched the particular application. So if I just click the localhost 5000, you will see that the application launches. And then if I just do a swagger of index HTML over here, you can see that the application comes in. So this is basically coming in from my local SDK, which is available within my machine. Already it has the particular SDK. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the add and remove program. And I'm going to remove that particular SDK right now. So let's say I think it's Microsoft.NET, which is these. So probably I'm going to remove one by one. All right, it's uninstalled. So you can see that I have uninstalled completely. I think I don't even have any of the .NET 6 right now. Like it's all completely gone. And if I try going to the terminal right now over here, and if I just do .NET -- version, it's still showing me that preview version 5. I think it's showing me the different version this time. It's not showing me the preview version of 6, but it's showing me the preview version of 5. But anyways, I think this proved the point that we have uninstalled everything. But let's close this thing and come back again. I think I need to close my terminal and open it again, because it happens most of the time that I need to close and reopen that particular terminal. And I'm gonna go to the minimal API ASP get of ASP.NET Core. Oops. And then if I just do .NET, I mean, you can do the .NET version from anywhere, but I'm just doing it from here. All right, so now it is using version 5 preview, but there is going to be a bug right now if I try doing a .NET build. So basically, if I go to the bin folder of this particular application over here, let's try deleting it. Move to recycle bin. All right, and now if I try doing .NET run, same mistake. So you can see that currently it's trying to build the application, but there is going to be an error happens. Well, this error is happening because it requires one of the latest and the greatest feature of .NET 6, which is the latest version, which I just uninstalled from a machine. So that preview version has to be installed within your machine. If not, the code is not going to work. We saw the particular code was actually working, but once we uninstalled that particular SDK, now we are seeing that now we are seeing it complains us that we cannot able to execute this particular code, which is clear to us that we require that particular SDK available installed in our machine. But now with using the docker run command, we are going to oversimplify what we're going to try doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this docker, and I'm going to do a run, and I'm going to do IT for the interactive, and probably I'm going to make this a bit bigger. So I'm gonna go here to the PowerShell. All right, let's see that. So IT, and then I'm gonna say port number, and I'm gonna say port number as 8080, and the internal port of this application is 5000. So if you see over here, properties, launch settings, it is actually using 5000 port number. So I'm just gonna give that, and then I'm gonna use the volume mapping, where I'm going to tell that I need to map my current directory, but I'm just going to do it for now. And I will tell you why I'm actually doing that. So I'm just going to do pwd/app, and working directory is going to be the /app that we just saw, or that we created. And then I'm going to call the image, which is going to be coming from the container. So the .NET Core 6.0 latest edition of the Docker image is actually available in a different place. So we're going to say Docker image for ASP.ASP.NET SDK, ASP.NET 6 SDK. Let's try searching that. So we get to this place. So you can see currently it shows 5 and 3.1, which is the LTS support, but the version 6 is still in preview state. So we need to get that particular version. And I think I'm going to use the 6.0 preview 6 focal, this one probably. And let's do this MCR SDK. Let's try copy pasting that first and remove that particular tag and use the tag with this star over here. So you can see that the preview edition of that particular tag is going to be something like this one. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to copy that. And I think it has that particular version supported. So I'm just going to paste it over here, and I'm just going to hit enter. So once I do that, what it's going to do is it's going to see if I have the latest version of that particular image within my Docker. And if it doesn't, then it's going to go and download it for us within our local machine. So you can see that it's currently downloading that particular SDK image within our machine. And also it is going to run the particular container, and it's going to give us that particular shell within this particular window that you can see. So let's wait for the download to fully complete. All right, it's done. And you can see that currently it is sitting as a root of that particular container, and there is a /app. So this is the working directory which I did over here, the /app. So if you put working directory as /app, then it is going to directly go into this particular /app folder of that particular container. So we are currently talking to the container. If I just do an ls, you can see that it has already volume mapped all the files and folders for us over here in this particular machine, which is the container as well. And now if I just try doing a .NET of run, you can see that it has started to perform a build operation. And you can see that the build is successfully completed as well, which is the good thing that we could see that it is happening for us. Well, that is the power of this whole Docker run command itself, guys. Like, we can use the SDK straight away without even having to have that particular exact SDK installed within our machine. And you saw that we were actually getting an error before, but now even the compilation is happening without any problem. And this is happening inside that particular container that we're talking about. So if we just do a docker ps-a, you will see that our container is currently running this particular image, and there is a command bash which is currently opened, and it also shows me there is a port map happened with 5000 to 8000, and then you can see this is where the problems are going to happen, and I will show you what I really mean. And now if I try accessing this application to the local host of 5000, so let's say if I click this guy, it opens up within the browser, and you can see that the localhost 5000 is not going to be accessible right now. I mean, before we saw it was working fine with localhost 5000, but now it is not. Well, we have actually port mapped it using the port number 8080. So basically with this 5000, we are telling that the internal port 5000 expose it to 8080 with our host machine. So even if I try doing this, it is going to show me an error over here. Well, it tells me not very great information, but it is basically telling me that it is not accessible. So how to fix this particular problem? Well, it is very, very simple. Because we'll be running this code inside the container, the application URL has to be either globally set in an environment variable, which we'll be doing later part of the series, or you can do something like 0.0.0, something like this. And once you save this, actually it saves within inside that particular container as well, because we have volume mapped. So for example, if I just do an ls, and you can see that our application comes in, and if you go to the properties, and if you do a cat of, or maybe if I just do an ls cat of launch settings.json file, you will see that the change is replicated instantly over here. This is happening because we have did a volume mapping while we are trying to run our Docker container itself over here. So that's what is the power of the volume mapping, which I was talking about. So now let's get out from this particular directory, and let's try doing the .NET run. All right, you can see that the port number is now a bit weird. And if I go back to my Firefox over here, and now if I try accessing this, you can see that our application is now a bit of accessible. And if I just do a swagger index.html, you can see that I could able to access this particular microservice based application that we have developed before, which is cool. So now it is accessible. And there is another best way of doing it. Instead of doing this ... of 000, just put a plus over here. This will still do the trick. So you can see that currently it shows me the HTTP 0.0.0.0:5000 like that. Let's say if I just do a .NET run this time, you will see that all these zeros will be gone. With the plus, it tells you that you are going to map with any of that particular domain, and the port number is 5000. So now you can see that it is going to work pretty much exactly the same like how it was working before, which is cool. So this is how we could actually perform a run command using Docker run to run an ASP.NET based application without having to have an SDK installed within our machine, and we could able to run that using the Docker container, which is quite cool. That ends this particular Docker run command itself, but there are so many things we have did here which we could able to make things more better in our upcoming videos of this series. So you can see that currently the application is not compiled, and we have to tell like .NET of run to run the application, which is crazy. And also we are actually putting a big command, something like this, and running the application. We're doing a manual port mapping. And if we require an SQL server, then we need to have a networks, and that's going to keep on increasing this particular things. And we can also see that there is directly, it's taking us to the bin/bash for us to open up this particular command. This is the bash command terminal, which we can avoid if we don't really wanted to have this in first place. So those things we'll be talking in our upcoming videos of this particular series. But yes, this is, as I told you, this is an advanced series. We are going to talk a lot about the other things in our upcoming videos of this course. Once again, thank you very much for watching this video. You guys have a great day.